welcome back everybody to Stuff That Matters Now, and thank you for patching in and listening to a conversation I'm about to have with Brian Baker in Whanganui.
Yay.
And I had the delight of meeting Brian in December, and this was to do with putting the book, as it turns out, Stuff That Matters Now. No, that's not the title. As it turns out, Nobody's Got Their Shit Together is the name of the book. And Brian helped me get it onto online. It's not up yet on Audible. It's online with Spotify and all the other areas. Audible's sort of dragging the chain. So I met Brian because he's a musician, full-time musician, and used his studio. So Brian, thank you for saving my ass and getting this thing out.
It was quite the experience, wasn't it?
It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
I made a fatal mistake of doing a wee trial before I came over to see Brian on the Monday morning, and it was going to be 4 hours a day, which was plenty.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd do a dress rehearsal, and I went, oh, crap, I'm terrible at this. Anyway, Brian stitched it all together, and I was very grateful for that experience. So thank you. Brian, okay, that's enough about me. Brian, how do you describe yourself?
How do I describe myself to myself, or how do I describe myself to other people?
Both. All right. Which one do you want to pick first?
I think.
How do you describe yourself to other people?
I guess I don't really describe myself to other people. If I do, I just say, that I'm a musician. I mean, I say different things,
Yep.
I say different things. I say a bald old guy trying to play the guitar. Sometimes I say that, and sometimes I say songwriter. They're all labels. I think, people will take you how they take you.
Yep. And internally, how do you describe yourself?
Often as a fucking alien. Okay. What? Yeah. How'd you get in this body? Who are you and how did you get inside this body?
Right.
Yeah.
And is that an alien that is that a happy alien or is it a frustrated alien?
Oh, no, it's definitely a happy alien. Yeah. I'm, really, I'm an adventurer. There's no doubt. In my ancestry is Francis Drake, and who was also related to Blackbeard the pirate. So those pirates I can really relate to, and I found out some unfortunate things about that. That Sir Francis Drake and Hawkins, his cousin, who designed the fleet that Drake used to defeat the Spanish. So Hawkins is my direct ancestor. We had Sir Francis Drake's sword and diary in our family's possession just when they left
Unbelievable.
England. Yeah, but it's been lost now.
Right.
So that's within a couple of generations. But I did find out that those guys, given permission from the Queen or whoever, they were the first privateers. They worked out that you could pop down to the Ivory Coast, jump up on the beach, grab a few slaves, and flog them off to the States, and Europe, and it was brilliant, and they made a fortune. I did find out that another relative of mine, and this is how I found this stuff out. I searched up the newspapers. I think the guy's name is Andrew Hawkins. Went back to Africa and went to the Congo and apologised on behalf of my family, which is actually massive when you think about it.
Yep.
Go, hey, am I carrying that weight of not starting slavery, but, that trade, that horrible trade, yeah. So...
Do you know why the slave trade finished? The only reason it finished was the English government borrowed a whole lot of money and they paid the slave traders to stop trading. They paid them out. They said, if you finish, we'll pay you this money. And only in the last 20 years has the English government paid off that debt. So you can imagine what that was. It's the only reason it finished. And I often think, do we need to pay off the oil companies to stop exploring for oil?
Yeah, I mean, oil companies, that's a big ask, but hey, why don't start at something smaller, perhaps tobacco companies?
It could be something small. So you've got these many talents. And I find it fascinating that here you are in this wee city of Whanganui, which is a beautiful, beautiful place next to this iconic river. And you've had an interesting journey in music. You've spent a lot of time in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And so tell me about the scene and how old were you when you went over there, right?
I was 20. I went over there in 1980. With a guitar under one hand and a synthesizer under the other.
Yep.
And really just lobbed. Yeah, just lobbed in Sydney.
And what does lob mean? What does that mean?
I mean, literally lobbed. My dad was a commercial traveller, so he had a card for all the commercial travellers clubs, I guess in Australia and New Zealand maybe.
Yep.
And the night before I left, he said, "Here, look, take my card. That will give you if you get stuck, it will give you a place to stay."
Right.
So I did. So I took my dad's name and went and stayed at the Commercial Travellers Club in Martin Place in Sydney for the first couple of nights to get my bearings.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's lob. That's as much lobbed as you can. And then just read the local rags, went to gigs, and found a place to stay and bought a car and joined bands. Yeah.
And you are a what in the band? You write, you sing, and you're a guitar
And play
player.
guitar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so were you ever in one band for a period of time, or were you flitting in and out?
No, I was in one band. I mean, when I first got there, I joined a Sydney band called Idiot Savant. That was great. It was really inner city punk kind of stuff. That was fantastic to be in that scene, because in that scene were Flowers, who became Icehouse, Matt Finish. He was looking for a guitarist, and I went, I should audition for that. I love Matt Finish, but I didn't. In Excess. Now we're all playing, but we were hardcore.
Right.
The Civic Hotel in a
Right.
city scene. So I did that, and then after those guys, it sort of fell to bits. And after those guys, I joined a band called Crisis, and I was Alan Barnes' replacement. Alan was the little brother of Jimmy, and that was. Then those guys, after a few months, they said, "We're going to move to Melbourne." So okay, we did. We moved to Melbourne.
And why the change?
The change of bands or the change of city?
Change of city.
Melbourne was really happening. Melbourne had Countdown. It had Mushroom Records. It seemed to have more gigs.
Right.
It was a bit slightly more musical. We were only early 20s. That's honestly, it was only perceived. There are gigs, everywhere.
Yep. What's it like being in a band?
Well, if you like it, it's great, because you're always with a bunch of mates.
Yep.
Going somewhere and doing something,
Yep.
But of course, there's all that argy-bargy of relationships, and people at different stages of development and different outlooks and objectives, expectations. I've got to say that being older and being in a band, a lot of those things are much better because, people can own their own cars and their equipment, etc., which is tough when you're younger. You don't have all that stuff. But being older in a band, what you understand is the privilege. You can respect the other players because the privilege of them giving up their time, because they're not 18 or 19, they have families and responsibilities, and they still give up their time to turn up to rehearsals and turn up to gigs and
Right.
want to be part of it.
Yep.
So I got to say, on reflection, looking back, it's different being in a band now than it was in my 20s. In
Yep.
my 20s, it was like, yay, it's
Yep.
just crazy.
Yep.
But now you've really got to make sure that people's expectations are aligned. That's super important. And sometimes the playing bit can be a bit more forgiving, you know?
So I'm just trying to imagine, a group of young, mostly men.
Yeah, essentially. I'm thankful to say that seems to have changed, but
And I'm thinking from my own perspective here, being in a band, on stage, delivering this great music to a crowd, did it go to your head?
Yeah, you get high. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say yes, not in an ego kind of way, but it's like going for a run or something. All these endorphins, get released. It honestly, it feels for me, and I'm pretty sure it's like it for the other band members, and now, but it feels like you're flying. Because, when you're driving a car and it becomes automatic and you forget about, you don't do this and you don't think about it. You're just doing it. And then you can even watch yourself doing it.
Right.
Like that.
Because you've done it so much and so often, so you can appreciate what's going on around you.
Yeah, there's a lot of muscle memory going on and stuff like that. But you're doing it together.
Yeah. What makes a great musician?
The ability to listen. I think it's as simple as that. The ability to listen. And that extends not just playing with other people, because it's all that's all about listening. Because you're constantly listening for the spaces and what other people are doing and where they might be going and what they might be thinking. And you go, let's do that.
Right.
So let's go over there. That's cool, and that's listening. But then it is listening to, when you're not playing together, listening to other bits of music and listening to other players. I was reading this Jeff Beck article this morning, and he was, and I didn't know this, totally inspired by this Bulgarian choir music, because and I've worked with a lovely artist in Northland, Nora. She's Lithuanian, and I had the similar experience, I think, with her. That music, that folk music, that vocal folk music from that area in the world is it's atonal perhaps, but it's got these microtones. So, our Western, music is cut up into quarter tones, but they have smaller increments. And it was great to hear that Jeff Beck was influenced by that. And it's so that's what I mean by listening. You go, oh, what are they doing? Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Why does it make me feel like that?
Yeah.
And then it goes into your music.
Yeah. So, because I was going to come on to, because this was something I discovered or really focused on while I was writing the book, was the fact I think that as business people we could learn a lot more from musicians than we can to lots of other people, because this whole riffing thing that goes on, or is jamming and riffing the same thing?
It's similar. You would jam on a riff. We're talking terminology here.
Yep.
You would jam on a riff. A
Yep.
riff is a sequence of notes
Yep.
or beats.
Yep.
Yep. And so that's easy or not so easy, whatever. But everybody can grab hold of it. And
Yep.
we go,
Smoke-
okay, that's
smoke on
that.
the water.
Yeah, that's okay. So there's the riff.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're just going to do that endlessly,
Yep.
and we're jamming on it.
Yep.
And we might move it. We're going over here. What are we going to do with that? And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's jamming, where you might move away from the riff and come back to it.
Because I realise that our collective intelligence teams, when they are in harmony, when they are, and the most important thing for a collective intelligence team member is to listen to each other. And we know when a team is going really well, there's more silence than less developed teams. So when a team is really well developed, there'll be more silence because people will be listening and waiting and seeing who else is going to speak. The newer teams want to fill that space of silence.
Oh man, sounds just exactly like a band.
Yeah.
Because that's what you find. You go, oh, and the new kid over here is filling playing fabulously, but filling every space.
Yeah.
Every gap because I'm just calm down.
Well, look, and I remember it's interesting when you get a group of facilitators together in a meeting. So you've got all the team together, and I love this story. And we had a new person working with us, Bettina. She wasn't a facilitator. She was helping us with our marketing and stuff. Excellent at a job. And she had her first meeting with the facilitators in person in Wellington. And all day in her head was just going, am I supposed to be talking now? She was just going, oh my God, what's happening here? Nobody's speaking. 10 seconds has gone by and nobody said anything. Am I supposed to be filling this gap? And at the end of it, she came clean and she said, oh my God, that was the most terrifying day for me because all of these spaces. And then she couldn't figure out, we finished early. And it was just like, we started very slowly. We had an agenda, but it was pretty loose. We got everything covered. There wasn't much speaking, and we finished early. And nobody was tired. Just like, what the fuck is that? And I'm used to that. I was like, oh, yeah, that's. But what I've come to understand in the last 4 or 5 months is that we need to look towards musicians more and more about how to conduct meetings and how to be with each other.
Interesting. I'm not sure musicians are great at conducting meetings.
And I'm sure they're not. It's more about watching them and understanding what is going on. Because when we're outside, we just see we don't know what's going on inside that band.
Yep.
And that's the thing I'm really interested in.
Yeah, there's enormous amounts of communication. I don't know if playing at Caboodle, but if you noticed, Brad,
let's just frame up Caboodle.
Okay, Wanganui Vintage Weekend Festival, BB and the Bullets, that's my band, just played on the back of a truck, 6 o'clock in the main street. It was a good spot. We're a crack band. We had a great time. The audience, seemed to get off on it, and it was cool. But it was that time of day where the sun was over into the west, and it was very strong. So that meant, and the drums were, badly set out for us. The drums weren't in the middle of the stage. The drums were way up the corner of the truck, on the bed of the truck. I'm at the other end. I'm in the shade. Brad, the drummer, is in this blinding light. Brad and I need to be looking at each other. We're communicating. And there was I remember a particular moment that I was doing something on my guitar, and I could back off and I could look down at it and I could see him. He's just squinting at me under his cymbals. He's like trying to see me. What are you, It was, but it was quite cool because, and it's that communication. I was able to go, I just went, there was a little Jeff Beck thing that I'd been playing earlier in the day, and I just went "Rah, rah," to him, and he caught it.
Right.
He just went, "Rah," and then there was an immediate response. Yeah. And that was just voicing the frustration. It was, you're fucking way down there and I can't see you, and I'm way up here and I can't hear you, and but that's part of the performance. It was cool. I love this band.
Let's go to, I'm going to come back to this later on because I'm absolutely fascinated with it. And I'm a totally non-music. I love music, but I've never played or, anyway. BB and the Bullets.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to you first time was at the pub. What was the pub?
Yeah, the Com.
The Com.
Which is the most grassroots hotel in Wanganui, the only pub in Wanganui that has a beer garden, and quite frankly, the only pub that I've seen round the place that reminds me of a fairly basic Australian pub. It's got that vibe.
It's got that vibe. And I said to my son, we'd finished recording that day, Thursday, finished recording for Audible. And I said to my son, who lives in Wanganui, I said, let's go and listen to this band, BB and the Bullets. And he's like, oh, fuck, here we go. What's the old man taking to me now? And he said, where is it? And I said, it's at the Commercial. He goes, oh, God.
Yep.
Okay.
We don't go to the Commercial. We don't go.
I said, okay. So we go into the Commercial, and the Commercial knows exactly what it is and is not pretending to be anything else.
Absolutely.
So we go in there, we get a beer, and we go out the back to the garden bar, it's not much for garden, but it's the bar out the back, the place out the back, and you guys are setting up, and my son's sitting there, and we're having a chat, and he's being very forgiving, just hanging out with his old man, listening to an older band as well, you guys, right? And so it's okay. And then you started playing. And he was like, and he's into his music. And he was listening to him for about 5 minutes. He went, these guys are good. I went, yeah. He goes, yeah, fuck, okay. This is totally incongruent with, where I thought it would be. But he said, these guys are good. We had a great night.
Great.
And what I loved about that was you had some locals patching in, maybe 2 or 3.
We did.
Locals, some sang, some played guitar.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yep. And those guys, that was a special gig for us. That was our last one that we'd been doing every Thursday night at the Com. That was our last for the year. We start up again soon. We'll just keep doing it again because I'm big on that. It's really helpful to the band and it's helpful to the venue. And we'd get a regular place to play. It's important. But so to wrap it up, I asked these guys Fred Loveridge and his brother Dusty, who have been part of the Wanganui music scene for yonks. So they were our special guests, and it was really good of them to come. They certainly didn't need to.
And my son was sent some videos out on social media. And people come back going, that's my old music teacher. And we know that he's, And so these guys, they had a big identity in Wanganui.
They do. They do. Yeah.
And I just love the fact watching them go up and they get their guitars out and they'd go up and they didn't have a lot of space and they go up and then boom, you're into it.
Yeah.
And you could see, and I was watching, and they're watching you guys and just getting to the rhythm of it. It's awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought... So just going back to this thing you've talked about, it's important. You're big on practicing, aren't you?
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Okay. There's different types of practicing. Okay. Firstly, in terms of band practicing, I think, I want a crack band, and there's more, it's not just running through the songs. It's all about that muscle memory. And as a singer and guitarist, I've got to learn to go, that lyric, that line, take a breath. It's like riding a bike. Hit that guitar there, and often there'll be a pedal or something. So I need to practice the whole thing. And the only real way you can practice it is with the band. And I need the band to practice, all those bits together. So yeah. And we zone in, practice that ending and practice this middle bit. Yeah, it's a different discipline. It's not running through the songs once and then stopping, That's
what struck me, right? So I've got this interpretation in my head that an orchestra, I would expect them to practice diligently. I don't know why, but I didn't have the same expectation with a rock band.
It depends on your expectations of the band. And I know with the Bullets as a three-piece that we need to have, and there's the ability to have this communication. The only way you do that is by playing lots together. Yeah, and it's better live. So lots of live gigs, but often there aren't that many live gigs. You got to do it. You just got to practice.
Yeah.
So that's the level of that. So that you know when the bass player moves his shoulder like that, or steps towards you, or the drummer does this. That means stuff. Those have got to be learnt.
Yep.
That's one level of practicing.
Yep.
But I would actually like to talk about another level of practicing, because over the last few years I've been on this guitar journey. So I've always played guitar, and I was really lucky to work with Eddie Rayner from Split Enz. The couple of albums that we did, Eddie taught me about guitar parts and how to record guitars and put them together. It was a really cool journey for me, because he learned his recording skills from working with Hugh Padgham, who was the producer for, this is with Split Enz, but Hugh was the producer for Phil Collins, Something in the Air Tonight, and Peter Gabriel, and Sting, Dream of the Blue Turtles, and one of my favourite bands of all time, XTC. So Hugh was the T-boy at his beginning stages for Jeff Emerick. Jeff Emerick was Beatles engineer. So Split Enz did some recording, made an album with Jeff Emerick. So Eddie's skills come from that Beatles lineage, and I love the Beatles. So I learned all those Beatles things. Eddie taught me about how to do guitar parts. So that was brilliant.
What does guitar parts mean?
It means breaking it down. Instead of just playing through the song, this might be an arpeggio. Okay, so we're going to just isolate that. That's an arpeggio, and then we're going to double it and put it over there. And then this will be an acoustic guitar part. This will be perhaps a lead line, or some other line. And so the guitar parts get layered up and come together as a whole.
Right.
Yep.
I'm saying right, pretending
it's just.
But I am carrying on.
It's pulling them apart.
No, that's what I want. This is what I want.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
This is what I want.
So I was a guitarist, no problem, and and did pretty well. But over the last few years, as I was leaving Melbourne, I had the realization, or if I practiced hard and learned and took lessons, how good could I be? Could I step up? And then when I moved to New Zealand, I knew there was not going to be another guitarist around to be in my band, really. So I did. I started taking lessons. I take lessons off this guy in Chicago and another guy in New York. And hopefully in June, I'm going to go across to Chicago and go to a guitar seminar. So this has been a huge stepping up for me, and it means that I've done some intense practice, and now I am learning that it's not practice, it's training. Why do top athletes have coaches? They don't like get to the top and go, yeah, I don't need a coach anymore, man. They have more coaches. They have a coach for eating and a coach for psychologist, etc., etc. So it's that stuff, and it's not a
It's called intensity training.
yeah, and and it's total immersion, and that's what's been happening for me for the last few years, and man, I work at it, but it is definite training, because I'm now recognizing that the things that I do on guitar, I would think, oh, you're practicing that scale. I'm not practicing the scale. I'm setting up neural connections, pathways in my brain that have got to remember that. And man, it takes a long time, and it feels now I can see those connections, or I can feel them. And I go, yeah, it's very faint, but it's there. So if I do it, just keep layering that up, and it feels like that I'm coating, and the coats of varnish are extraordinarily thin, but if I keep going, they will be set.
It's a lovely analogy. Yep.
And that's what it feels like.
Yep. And I've just been reading about this in a book from Malcolm Gladwell, who was looking at Formula One times for changing tyres, pit stops, and how they have changed from 10 years ago that was something like 5 seconds, and now it's down to 2.8 or 3 seconds doing the same thing. And it's just through intensity training and going. It's about margins, and he talks about the British cycle teams, road team, which were absolute crap. And this guy came in and he took over the British cycling team, and he said, we're going to make minute changes in here and here and here. And little things like on the Tour de France, some of the hotels they stay at are pretty crap, and so the vans take mattresses, so each cyclist has his mattress.
Yeah.
And when they go to the hotel, you're sleeping on your mattress.
Yeah.
Little things like that, and just layering this and this and this, and hey presto, the UK's got one of the best cycle teams in the world, if not the best cycle team in the world now, by doing that.
Yeah, and it's...
Do you wish you'd got onto this earlier?
I don't believe in having regrets like that. I've loved my journey.
And you're ready for it now?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would have been great. I did a very similar thing in songwriting. And I remember being in the band that I was in Melbourne. We got to deal with Sony, and we got signed to Rondor Publishing, and the guys from Rondor Publishing wanting to give me a particular songwriting book, because obviously they want me to write better songs. It's going to work for them, and they gave it to the guitarist. He never gave it to me. He never told me about it.
Oh.
Because he said, I think we don't want to screw up Brian's natural style. I regret that, because I could have been better earlier. But I've worked with Pat Patterson, who's the head of songwriting at Berkeley in Boston, and he's amazing. And I've upped my game big time.
We haven't got on to songwriting yet. Who are some of your favourite all-time musicians?
There's loads. I mean, they're all my favourite all-time musicians. I think it's the ones that bring something extra. Something amazing. I mean, there's just so many, that it's hard to bring to mind. For example, Thelonious Monk. Wicked, naughty man who got chucked out of clubs and, you know, because of what he played. He would play with his thumbs. He's awkward as, and pull things apart and put them back together again in odd ways. You know, that, I don't know, stubbornness, quirkiness, you know, just like, yeah, I'm doing it like this. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm doing it like this.
Yeah.
I'm standing on one foot, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the attitude. You know, Jerry Lee Lewis, bad man, you know. And then, because they're just such attitude of going, they're rebels, they're going against the flow,
Right.
you know. Same reason, you know, John Lennon, you know, all those guys, George Harrison, yeah, it was such a soft spot for. And then, you know, Paul McCartney, when Eddie and I started working together, he'd just come back from recording with Paul McCartney. He recorded on Push to Play. And he came back with stories of sitting down at the piano with Paul. And, you know, and Paul showing him the bibs and bobs of this song and that song and stuff. Yeah, Paul McCartney is, I'm not going to say underappreciated because he's so appreciated, but I think there are probably some things that many people don't or can't understand about Paul McCartney. Like, for example, you know, this is one of the stories, and I love this story. His timing is extraordinary. Penny Lane? Yeah. Penny Lane, he recorded most of that track himself. Started on piano. So he played the piano track. This is in the times of no click track. So there's no guide. It's on tape. So he played the first piano part and then another piano. There were 6 pianos on it. That's before any drums went down or his bass or anything. All those wonderfully in time, and you know, so you go, man, that's out there. It's really hard to do that stuff.
Yep.
Really hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Gladwell became one of his books, Outliers. He was, you know, became famous for, studied the Beatles and talked about them going to Germany and playing for 2 or 3 years in Hamburg. Apparently it was a really tough crowd in Hamburg, and they played there 6 nights a week.
For, like, I think that, you know, they were 10-hour,
Yeah.
you know, gigs.
Yeah.
And they play anything.
And if they weren't good, the crowd would get very shitty with them. And they played that, you know, 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, when they came back to the UK, people didn't recognise them. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, you're a bunch of hacks when you went over there, and you come back and you're a polished band.
Yeah, because they had to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal.
They had to.
So
yeah,
you've written a song recently.
Yep.
You most probably have written more than one, but I know one. Tell me about that song. And just for people listening, you guys have cut out.
Yeah. Okay. So the song's called that you're referring to is called High Tide.
Yep.
And it's the title track of the BB and the Bullets album, which will be out, we hope, late April.
Yep.
Late March, early April. Sometime. We haven't set a date because we're still, you know, the machinations are still going. We're still finishing the artwork and then manufacture and then a release. Okay, so High Tide. Yep. I wrote that song when I moved down to Wanganui. It seems like every song that I've written in Wanganui has got the river in it somehow, or water. But I actually wrote it about an experience of a town in Northland. I lived in Paparoa, and just down the road is a town called Ruawai, and Ruawai is on the banks of the Wairoa River, and it's kind of lower than the river. Yeah, so the berm is there and it holds back, and you can see they grow that. That's where they grow kumara, but they also have some dairy and beef, I guess, there. But they're constantly, you know, packing the berms and digging it out. and I had a mate that was on the council that was a pilot scheme for climate change and how to keep these farmers going and keep the river out, and the council there has killed it, and it was unfortunately a pilot scheme for all of New Zealand, so everybody missed out. And yeah, so I had a little reaction to that, and I wrote a song about it. It's a song isn't just about one thing, and a song is not literal in that sense. It's kind of like, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Yeah? So you use the song, and then the song becomes its own thing. And then you've got to be true to the song, not true to your story, or not true to what you think, or what happened, what colour her dress was. If red works better than blue, then it's red.
Yep.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So this particular song, for me, is about a person trying to control the uncontrollable. He knows his farm is going to be flooded, but he's not giving up, because that's who he is and what he does. And so in some ways it's his failing, because he can't imagine a better way.
Yeah.
He can't imagine something different, and doesn't want to. And it's about all those things. It's about the hardship of doing that. It's about the belief. It's about traditions. He says, my father's hands were in this mud, and his father's hands before him. Who else could I be?
Yeah.
He can't see it.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's okay.
I love when I hear this. I've heard you sing that song twice now. I love the emotion that comes with that from you.
Yeah, it's so level. Thank you. It's intense. It's intense for the band. It's great to see the audience respond to it. I don't know why. Well, it's only a couple of chords. It's not. I like them simple, but people respond. We played it up in the Bay of Islands Jazz and Blues Festival, and a couple came up and said, "You've just told the story of our lives."
Yeah. Look, it does. It gets to you. It's a ripper.
Yeah, and hey, yay! We wrote something that moves people,
and it's yeah. And it was, the second time I heard it affected me more than the first time, because I was waiting for it.
Okay.
And there's wonderful lyrics, near the end of the song and so forth. And I go, fuck yeah, this is the shit. This is great.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. He says, well, I'll be down there among the dinosaur bones and the mobile phones.
Yes. Well, that's a great line. That is a great line.
Because, that's what it is. I have dinosaur theories, which I love, but I won't go into.
So what brought you back to New Zealand?
I was, let's see, I'm just trying to put frame that in a way, because it was hard, because I left my two boys in Melbourne. I'd split up from my partner, but we'd been split up for a while. I think 5 years by that time. And my kids, my boys, that was really hard. But I knew I was ready to come home. I knew that I guess several things happened at once. The property cycle seemed to be at a bit of a peak. It seemed, I could cash in. That's what the mortgage broker said. You're cashing in your chips, are you, Brian? So effectively, yeah. But nah. More than that, I was reading a lot about climate change, and it deeply affected me. There's a book called The End of Ice which is brilliant. But we're in the house that I had, which they had the family in, and that's I was with my boys there, or 50% of the time, I had my kids, and it's a Western red cedar house in the Dandenong Ranges, and that part of the Dandenong Ranges, I'd lived there for 20 years. We had that house for 20 years. It was great. It's packed with gum trees. They're right up to the house, up to the deck. It's lovely. It's brilliant. You got to watch them because they drop limbs, and and for 3 months every year, everybody just shits themselves.
Yep.
I had water tanks, fire pump hoses that would go all the way around the house. Made sure that I was done. I knew that if it went up, it would just go up. It would go woof. I thought that I was pretty well prepared, but in 2009, I was there for those fires. It helicopters right over the top of the house. And people in Kinglake, in the reports, that was the Ash Wednesday stuff, way more prepared than what I was. 6 blokes, massive amounts of water and tanks, all died. And people in their dams, people in their houses, people in their cars, yeah. And I knew that at some stage, my figuring was this. I'm a musician, right? Not a lot of money. The house was what I had. At some stage, people are going to realise this. Insurance premiums are going to go up. People aren't going to be able to afford to live there. House prices are going to go down. No one's going to want them. I think the same is happening with coastal stuff in New Zealand. Yeah? And go, when do you jump? And I went, I'm going to jump now. That's all. That's that. And I wanted to come. There was lots of other stuff.
Yep.
But that was prime for me. I really wanted to come home to New Zealand. I've always wanted to come home to New Zealand.
Yep.
But that's a really, the climate change bit is really interesting, and man, it'd be good to be wrong, but I don't think so. But it might not be next year. It might be in 100 years. It's like. Pff.
Well, if you look what's happening now, I'm reading a book at the moment called Heat.
Okay.
And it's about climate change and stuff, and you see it just inching in. It was written in 2021, and just talking about all the whole range of mosquitoes are now moving into different areas. Bats are moving into different areas. There's a whole lot of subtle things going on, and we are acting like the green frog in the frog in the boiling water that's heating up at the moment. I think where you weren't. You were going, hang on, there's some signals here and I need to take notice of them.
Yeah.
Right. And, when does it come to the boil? When do we die? Well, I'm not quite sure.
Yep.
But by the time a lot of people wake up, it's going to be too late. And, that concerns me, Ryan, that we're not paying enough attention to this stuff.
Yeah. Back to Ruawai, I love that. It's a great example for me. Back to Ruawai again, and apologies to the folks in Ruawai, but a lot of you might be in agreement. I used to play squash with those guys, It's not a question of spending another $1 million or $2 million on the berms, or 15 or 100. It's goes, no. How are we going to compensate these farmers? How are we going to move them to somewhere it's safe? Because in the end, that's going to be the only solution. So don't look at keeping everything in place. Look at how we're going to pay to move it, to change the shape of it.
Yeah.
It's a different question.
Yeah.
It's not the same, and so it leads to different answers.
Yeah. And the insurance bill for the fires in In LA,
Oh,
you know,
goodness.
that's going to affect our premiums.
Yeah.
That's going to affect our premiums.
It'll affect the world economy, eh?
It's that stuff is going to flow through.
Yep.
What are they going to do? Are they going to build back there? Are they going to be allowed to build back? If they are, what are they going to do differently? And this happened in a really wealthy part
Yep.
of the world,
Yep.
incredibly wealthy. And so you go, so what are they going to do differently? It's not easy.
Exactly.
It's not easy.
Exactly. How do we humans, and we're good at adapting, how do we adapt
Yeah.
to this new shape?
Yeah.
There's a guy called Jem Bendell. He's written a paper. He wrote it way back about climate change. And he asked a lot of questions that that aren't being asked, and he caused quite a stir. But he's worth looking up, and I think the PDF is free to download. And I can't remember.
Okay, what was his name again?
Jem Bendell. Yeah, an amazing thoughts. For example, he said, okay, so if we know that the sea level is going to rise to here and here and here over 50, 20, whatever, how many years, given that that's going to happen, the nuclear reactors globally that are on the coast, how do we shut them down? Because they take a long time, like 15 years or something, to shut down and clean up. When do we get started on that? Nobody's asking that.
Yep.
No one's saying anything like that.
Yep. And we had that with the tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
That's a nice, small little wake-up reminder call.
Yep. Yep. Brian, and I ask this of everybody, what are the stuff you want to tell me about this thing here we've written down.
Which one?
Which is
which number?
telling you can do anything. Tell me about that. Tell me about this.
Oh, I kind of, meant that in relation particularly to a guitar playing journey, and we can extrapolate it out from there. But it's great to tell our kids that they can do anything and be anything. The reality is that they can't. They can't jump off the side of a building and fly.
I'm so pleased we went there, Brian, because I thought this is going to be a bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, no, when you said, when you put down, tell people you can do anything,
Yeah.
They can do anything you want, I'm going,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't mean it like that at all. I mean, you can achieve anything. Perhaps I should have. Yeah. Conversely, you can. But it takes that total immersion and that keep leveling up. And with that come sacrifices. And so, for me, I'm really, really fortunate that I've been able to do this total immersion into music and the band and guitar playing and writing. I'm incredibly fortunate. My family has helped me with that, and it's also hurt my family because my sons aren't with me. They come out, 1 or 2 times a year, whatever. That's hard. It's a sacrifice. So yeah, I guess it's tied in with all that stuff. It's you can do anything if you've got the guts to lose anything.
Yeah. I love tennis and I love the Australian Open.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy the when the players have a chance to speak after a game. Unfortunately, we put a lot of emphasis on the people that won, and often it's the people that lose you are more interesting. But there was an American tennis player, Madison Keys, won the the women's competition, and Madison Keys unfortunately was labelled when she was 11 as a child protege in the States, and had this huge weight of being a Grand Slam winner in her career. Now, Madison Keys has had a very good career, but she's ranked 19th in the world. She's made one final of a Grand Slam, which is unbelievably good, but she didn't win. And she's now 29, and last year she had a really tough year with lots of injuries and serious injuries. And she's always had this weight of expectation. She's never ever matched up to the expectation of the American public. And so to watch her last night win this the night before the Australian Open, and seeing how much it fucking meant to her.
Yeah.
Because of all the struggles of the last 10 years, to get to that point. Stunning. And it was lovely hearing her going, I wasn't sure I'd ever get here. And there are times I'd sort of given up on the dream. And I thought, this is stunning.
That's massive, isn't it?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely story. And she's a lovely person. She's always been a lovely person, And there's Madison Key that would get through to the quarterfinal and get through, and just, but, you'd see her there and go, yeah, that's cool. She's making up on numbers but she won't win.
Yeah.
But this time she won. It was so good. It was so good to see that.
Yeah.
And you see the tears in the eyes of the trainers and all the people behind and just going, yeah, this is hard work. This is hard work.
I've been in Melbourne too long when I say, the St Kilda of tennis.
Yeah. That's, and the other thing you put down here, Brian, is forgiveness as a topper. Tell me about that.
It's massive. Part of my, my makeup is I'm really drawn to Buddhism, and so I do all that in meditation, and I go to Vipassana, and and listen to Dharma talks all the time, and try and follow the path.
How interesting. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about that in a very subdued way. Is that what's that about? Is that the impact it's had on you, or is it when you're talking about the faith?
Yeah, well, I guess because I'm trying to put it into words that's not, it's not about being right. Yeah. It's just my journey, that's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why I'm probably a bit quieter and a bit slower going,
Well, you have permission not to do that, because this podcast today is about you, and I am really interested in this. Okay. And so I'd encourage you to just share with whatever you want.
Okay. Well, it leads to forgiveness. And I have a quote here from the Buddha, which I really like, because when I see the stuff going on around the world, Gaza and Ukraine and Sudan, I mean, there's loads of places where people are at each other. And yeah, man, there's so much right and wrong and suffering. But this is a ripper. Hate is never conquered by hate, but by love alone is subdued. And that, to me, is an absolute cracker, because, yeah, man, there is... Israel is not going to be free of the hatred by making a bigger bomb. or bombing more Palestinians. And yeah, Palestinians, you're not going to be free from your hatred of Israel by going and smashing into them. It's not going to happen. Hate is never conquered by hate. So there's only one path, really, isn't there? There's only forgiveness. So that's what that's about. And it's a hard one.
So many of that, and it's very simple. And it's very simple words. You know, there's nothing, it's a very simple...
It's really
message.
simple idea, yeah.
Yeah, but so hard to accomplish.
Yeah, of course it is. Because our minds go, you know, oh, I should have said that. I'm going to have this internal conversation like that with a guy who stole my parking space. You know what I should have done? I should have bloody backed into him because my insurance would have covered it. It would have been brilliant.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Etc. And then that extrapolates all the way to, build a bigger bomb. If we just smash them enough, we'll feel better.
Yep. Yep.
And not going to work. Not going to happen. There is only one way for us to be freed of it.
So how long have you been on this journey?
I think that's, you know, you can look for bits of it, from, you know, wandering off in the bush by myself as a kid. I was always doing that. Loved it. So it's always, I think that's how we are as human beings, that we're always, hopefully, trying to uncover our true natures, you know? So that's, there isn't any beginning or end to that journey. But in this life, on this one, I've been doing it. I kicked off, I learned Transcendental Meditation in 1992. Mm-hmm. Transcendental Meditation is the one with the Maharishi that the Beatles went to. So there was some, attractiveness there. I went, oh, yeah, okay, right. They're interesting because you have to pay, because they say Western people don't value it if they don't put their money down. So they make you pay, which seemed the antithesis of it. But I can understand that. Anyway, I did, and that technique is fantastic and extraordinarily useful. Unfortunately, I had been raised as a Catholic and went to Catholic boarding school. Institutions don't do it for me. I don't work for them and they don't work for me. And I found the whole the transcendental meditation thing. They're a very large, very effective institution. So on that level, I didn't like it. Man, they do some really cool things. They take like a team of crack meditators, because you know that if you get enough meditation going in a certain place in that location, they will see, it's all the studies have been done, they can see lower crime rates, blah, 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 blah. So they'll take out a hotel suite somewhere and go, boom, and send them in.
And just explain that a bit more so I understand that. So they'll send them in, and you'll have a mass of people there.
Yeah, like 50 or 60 people meditating.
And that will
calm the city down.
That will have an effect out from that.
Yeah. It's quite, and they've done all the studies. Yep. They're very data backed. It's a cool thing. Yep. So TM, fantastic.
Yep.
It led me to explore more.
Yep.
And I did. Yep. So I guess in some ways then the attraction to Buddhism, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And then other types of meditation. Yeah.
And how has that affected the way you live?
I think that it has a calming effect, but it also has a focus and discipline. But mostly, it allows me to watch myself thinking. That's what it does. So I can flick back and go, look, it's doing that. It being, that fucking alien, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's doing that now. It's, that's interesting. It's upset about that. Oh, it's very attracted to that, And it's good because when you can think about your thoughts and identify them, then you can decide on whether you want to act on them or not. That's massive.
Yeah. And once again, incredibly hard to achieve.
Yeah, but
Takes practice.
it takes practice. That's why they call it a practice.
Yep. I'm just trying to think. It's got a fancy name. I'm trying to be clever here now, Brian.
Okay.
It's not working. But there is a meta thinking or meta something or other, but it's thinking about thinking.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the that whole meditation practice, they say it just creates so much more time and space in your life when you're able to meditate, which to me has always been counterintuitive. Like, what the fuck? Switching off a quarter of an hour or 20 minutes and during the day, it's like, what a time waster.
Yeah. But not.
No. And then I go back to the great sports people and going back to tennis, and why I'm fascinated with tennis is that you can win more points than your opposition, you can win more games than your opposition, and lose the game.
Yeah.
It's about which points and which games and what sequence makes all the difference. And the best tennis players in the world, they got more time than everybody else because of the practice, but also getting them into a state where they're not caught up in the whole emotion of it. And you see players when they're losing their emotions, and I feel so sorry for them when they lose their cool and so forth, and go, they've lost it. And then you see them working so hard in the moment to get back. To get back in the game. And it's just like, wow. And they've got to do it in public in front of a whole lot of people at the same time, where they're melting, they've lost their shit, lost their rhythm, and it's only them that can bring them back.
Yeah.
And we do that in life.
Yeah.
We do that in life.
Yeah.
So how long have you been practicing Buddhism? Is that how I say it?
Yeah. That's perfect. It's perfect. It's been a gradual development because I probably read some books in my 20s, and certainly then in the TM, I read more books. I think that then probably between books that I'd read and then books that I'd read and then the more podcasts and stuff and the technology changing like that made things more available to me. As yet I haven't kind of got a guru, if you like. I haven't got a guy that's directing me. Although in some ways I sort of have, but so I can't put so many years on it, but it's still developing. I'm still on my journey. I attended a temple in Melbourne in Tacoma. It was just up the road. I did an audiobook for him. It was cool. He's a very interesting monk. He is the only monk in the world that can teach the Kala Chakra in English, and the Kala Chakra is part of the sort of the death and dying kind of, or I would say I'm just describing it incorrectly.
Right.
And I don't know enough about it, but if you wanted to learn the Kala Chakra, which is a particular Tibetan Buddhism discipline, you would have to learn it off a Tibetan monk, and you would have to learn Tibetan.
Right.
He is the only guy in the world who does it in English.
Right.
And he was like round the corner from me in Tacoma in Melbourne. So I would go up there and do a bit of meditation and stuff, but interesting. The one of the big switching points for me was my partner here in New Zealand that I had at the time when it was up north. She said you should go and do Vipassana. Vipassana is cool. So I've run 3 marathons in my life. They're really hard.
Even when you get really good at it, it looks hard.
Well, when you're shit as me, they're really hard. I'm not a stellar performer in there, but I have done them. Vipassana is harder than running a marathon. You 10 days, not speaking. You're up at 4:30 in the morning, meditating. You generally do an hour to 2 hours. So you meditate, and then you go and have a couple of hours. Then you have breakfast, a little break, and then you again lunch, and then the afternoon dinner. And there's not really any dinner. You don't eat. So, there's not really any dinner. There's a little fruit and a cup of tea at 7 o'clock maybe, if you're lucky. And then a talk. This is all cross-legged on the floor. Pretty much in the second day, you go, I'm going to leave my legs here, eh? Like this really hurts. It really, really hurts. People give up. People start crying. It's an interesting thing. A third or fourth day, yeah, it's hard. You're getting, but it's great. I lapped it up, but it was really hard. You get up at the end after a meditation session and go, I'm gonna, I'll be leaving my legs here on the ground. I can see that. But one of the things that it teaches you first is it's anicca, impermanence, in Buddhism, because you get up and after about 3 minutes, that pain, that horrendous pain that you swore that you could not survive, it's gone because you've got up and the blood's gone back to your legs and you've moved around again. There are other things happening, but it says, yeah, you can survive this, and it goes away. Everything changes. Everything changes. And it's an amazing experience. Yeah, and then it's possible that you have some extraordinary meditation experiences in that space, or not. Some people do it again and again and again and don't have any, and that's okay too. But is it hard. Woo! Not for the faint-hearted.
I've only been on one meditation retreat. It was only for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like that. Like we could speak in between. So I'm not going to compare it to what you went through, but it's on a whole different scale. But I've never practiced meditation over 4 days. And on the third day, I experienced my first out-of-body experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it was amazing. It was amazing. I still remember it, just being in the trees, being able to touch the leaves, they were wet, and had this amazing sensation. And on the last day, I wanted to go back there, and so I tried. And because it didn't fucking work,
that's right.
I thought, I want to do that thing again. Yeah. And I couldn't get myself in the same state. And it was just like, and at one stage I thought, no, you dick, you're thinking.
Yeah. And now that I've done this, I'll be able to do it all the time. This is going to be cool. I'll just be able to do this. I'll just flip into a meditation and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
No.
What's interesting with a lot of our facilitators will use meditation before a meeting.
Okay.
And they will do it different ways. And some people really struggle with it. But, my God, it's so good for setting the scene and just clearing the space. I've never led a meditation because I just don't think I'm developed enough to do that. I'll meditate myself irregularly, and I don't know why I don't do it more often, because I always feel better having done it. But yeah, with the facilitating a team, amazing. Do you use it with your music?
I don't know. I haven't thought of that.
Interested to know whether if you did it with your band.
No, not yet. Okay, boys.
No, and I mean, I'm being totally serious about this, because our teams, when they meditate beforehand, nothing heavy, 5-7 minutes.
It's a cool idea. It's highly likely to be something that will be introduced at some stage as we journey on together. You know, what's been happening with BB and the Bullets is our minds over the past few months are more and more aligned, because it's difficult. Once again, back to being in a band and getting everybody's expectations in the same spot. Same as any organisation, except that with a band, you're kind of loose. You don't sit down and go, okay, we're going to write our goals down. You don't do that, you know, and we don't do any of that. But over time, things, you know, evolve, and you go, this is where we want to go, and that's why people drop out, because they go, yeah, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be away from home. I don't, you know, I was just joining the band because I love playing. I love playing with you guys. I love the music, but I don't want to be away from home. And the other guys in the band go, no, we want to go all over the place. We'll drive like 10 hours and go and play a gig for stuff or money, because we love it, and we're just driving around, and that's part of it, and it's part of what we love. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't have those expectations, you don't enjoy that, then we're not good together.
We have that a little bit with our CQ teams, you know.
Some
people don't want the same things. Like, you know, the team going away together, staying away together is a big deal. And it develops this bond, and we don't want groupthink. We're not after that, but we're wanting people to be able to connect with each other more deeply than they otherwise would.
Yeah. So, it'd be a very good thing, I would imagine, very good thing of meditation. I've seen several bands before they go on just get together and put their heads together, just as a kind of symbol or affirmation of unity. I like that. Just a moment of stillness.
Which is a form of meditation.
And there you go.
Yeah. In my view, anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a similar thing. We're
just stop.
Still for a minute, and we're all, okay, we're just all here together. Okay, let's go and play.
Yeah. Brian, you've also been practicing vegan for some time.
Oh, vegan, yes.
Vegan. How do you say it? Is it vegan or vegan?
Vegan. I say vegan. Many people say plant-based, and I get told quite a bit, oh, you shouldn't say vegan. People have this opposition to vegan. And, you know, plant-based is a lot nicer and easier to tolerate.
Okay.
I'm a little... It's not intolerant of it, but I do have some attitudes that I hold inside and I don't readily express because it's not comfortable.
Yep.
But shall I express some of them?
Fuck yeah, go for it.
Okay. I think I was raised as a Kiwi. Bacon and roasts, corned beef, mince. My dad and I would do so much fishing, so much seafood. And my dad and I would go fishing, and our family holidays were down in Taupo, trout fishing, you know. We did, all of that Kiwi experience. And And milk and cheese and butter and all that stuff. Really, you're traditional. I actually had an argument with my partner about this because at one stage I recalled she said, "Well, look, I'm Czech. I can't change. We're the biggest meat eaters in the world." And I looked up the stats. It's like, no, Kiwis are. That was, quite a few years ago,
Yep.
though. But so the argument that this is culturally what I do, and this is traditional, and this is what I'm used to, and therefore I can't change, is bullshit. Utter bullshit. We used to think, people on this planet used to think that people with dark skins didn't have souls, so they were cool to be slaves. It was fine to do whatever you wanted with them. And people think now that animals don't feel, don't have love, don't dream, don't have joy, don't have pain or terror. Bullshit. I watch my dog, I can watch it dreaming. I would not cut my dog's leg off and eat it. Why the fuck would I do it to a cow?
Mm.
So once you get onto this attitude, it does take a bit of a leap and you go, what the fuck am I going to eat? But in fact, there are loads of fabulous things to eat. And that's a journey that I took, and that was great. But
How long ago?
when my dad died, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been,
And
14
what
years.
was it? What was it? Was it tied up with his death, or?
Yeah, it was. Because if you've experienced it, particularly for a son, the death of a father, maybe, the effect on me was, wow, there is my mortality. The things that you think, Brian, maybe you better start doing them, because otherwise you're going to kick off and you just, you wouldn't have, you would have thought all this stuff,
But not acted on.
but not acted on it. So I'd started acting on it. And but I want to get back to the courage that I think that vegans have. Yeah? Because you're going against the norm. And it's a difficult thing. And I find it funny that the accusations that it seems to me that some meat eaters throw at vegans and plant-based is, oh, you wimps, you bloody wimps. No, you're the gutless ones. You haven't got the guts to leap, because here are the facts. It's way better for your health. It's way better for the animals, and it's way better for the planet. What's the, have you got the guts to go against everybody else?
And look, it's interesting, Brian, because Kate and I aren't vegan or plant-based, but I think that of the 7 meals a week, we would be meat-free for 4 of those, 5 of those a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kate is very much on this trajectory as a doctor. So she's doing some study at the moment with some GPs, and we both enjoy our meat. And so we didn't eat meat last night or the night before. So that's something that Kate, from a medical point of view, is big on this.
Yeah.
So she doesn't talk
Yeah,
about
because the evidence is there. You go, okay, well, that's obvious. But the I guess the thing for me is, I look at it and I go, oh, that's somebody's muscle on your plate. Really? You're going to eat that? And I don't know, you know, you've handled chickens, and when you have their legs in there, you know, and they're delightful creatures, full of personality and, you know, pains in the ass, they, and you feel them and you go, yeah, that's pretty much like my arm, you know.
So we went out for a meal together last Wednesday night,
Yeah.
right, at a restaurant.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, sitting down with us to eat?
Well, I'm used to it, you know. I was really pleased that I could go there and I got a really nice vegan meal.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Well, there's some other things that I want to say about this, but yeah, no, I was comfortable, and I mean, living, you know, we all live together, you know, and people can only behave and live at the level of consciousness that they're at. And so if that stuff hasn't struck home to them, it's, well, far be it from me. It's like everyone's on their own journey, you know.
There's also a reality with some people with economically and time-wise, and if the family is, everybody's working 2 jobs and, you know, trying to stay pay the bills, and that can be really hard for some people as well.
It's cheaper not to have meat. Meat is fucking expensive.
Right.
It's cheaper, and it's honestly, and once you get in the swing, it's no problem. It's less. It's less.
There we go.
Honestly, that's not even you know, not even close. No.
Yep.
However, I will say this: I went to Cambodia. We were supporting a English school there. You know, cost $3,000 a year to run. It was under the mum's house, you know, because all the houses are on stilts. We went out to visit it. There's these scrawny chickens running around, you know. Those guys don't have anything. She made up what she would make for the kids, because that part of what they do is they feed the kids as well, which was a kind of porridge, chickeny porridge.
Yep.
Of course I ate it, because that's all they had.
Yep.
You know, what kind of a prick would I be to say, oh, no, I can't have that because I'm vegan.
Yeah,
because I can go back to my hotel and have lettuce, you know, good. The ability of me being able to make this choice is a privilege. It's because we live in an affluent country where there were loads of vegetables and choices and stuff. That's, you know, I think an important point.
Yep.
It is a privilege, and it's something that I understand. I don't take lightly.
Yep. 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 Yeah. And unrecognised privilege is pretty ugly.
Yeah. Privilege is invisible to the privileged.
It's invisible to the privileged. Yeah. As we wind up, Brian, what's I've got a couple of things I want to cover. What's anything we've missed there? Anything else you want to drop into the conversation?
No, you know, I'm happy to be directed, Harv. I think, you know, we've covered a lot of stuff. Everything's tied into everything else, really.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, you know, the forgiveness thing. Forgiveness and compassion is all, really. And when you get that, then the vegan thing is like pretty bloody obvious. You know, it says in every major religion and every non-major religion, I don't know, but it says usually any religion, first thing it says is, the first law is don't kill.
Mm.
It says it in the Bible, it says it in the commandments. Yeah? Was it like, don't kill, but it's okay to kill animals?
Mm.
Like, or is it just don't kill? You know, even Buddhism said no harm to any sentient beings. You know, there'll be a few monks squirming about that because, yeah, you shouldn't be You shouldn't be eating meat. You shouldn't be eating, your dead animals. They shouldn't be killed on your behalf.
Mm.
So, I mean, yeah. Everything flows together.
Connected.
Yeah, connected.
Brian, we met because through Bob Selden,
Yeah.
and I came over here to record the book with you. Thank you for that, because you remember the first morning I got up and gave you a hug because I didn't quite know how it was going to go, but you saved my ass over 4 and a bit
That's
days,
good, yeah.
which was great. What was your impression of? And you've been to the book launch last week.
Mm-hmm.
What's your impression as somebody that's recently discovered us?
Yep.
What's your impression of collective intelligence?
Well, I don't think it would be fair for me to give an impression of collective intelligence because I don't know enough about it. Obviously, I've looked over the website and I've read the stuff. I see it as an attempt to raise. It's a consciousness raising thing. It works. It resonates with me because it plays into that thing of mindfulness. Yep. And that the meditation, that we've talked about, the ability to be aware of your own thoughts. So I guess you're using a collective to go, can you see yourself thinking about that? Can you? Yeah. And if you're thinking about that, now you can decide, do you react or do you respond?
Yep.
Which is it going to be?
Yep.
Because if you're just mindlessly reacting, you're not making any decisions. Your brain, your ego, your environment, your upbringing, your genetics are making those decisions for you, but they're not you.
That's a stunning response. Thank you, because I thought, you heard me through the book, you've been to the book launch and so forth, and you're a unique bugger, and I thought I had no idea what you were going to say. But I think, I'm going to take that, the raising consciousness, absolutely. That resonates with me.
Well, I use those words in particular because now I've listened to your book quite a few times.
Poor man, yep.
I have some outtakes I should email you.
No. Bury them. I use that because that's what was really obvious to me over the course of your book that you get from one end. And this is a person, as we all are, trying to raise his consciousness. Yep.
Becoming more aware of stuff. And, people have asked me to encapsulate the book that, go, I don't know, what do you think? I go, well, because of Harv's upbringing, the things that happened to you early on, you have this need for clear information. And but that's a journey, and even, being aware of that that's more important than getting the clear information.
And took 63 years to fucking work it out, Brian. With help. I needed help to work that out.
Yeah.
Didn't get there by myself.
Well, it's written down in the book now. It's
written down, and it does. It gives me great joy when I see people get unbiased, clean information. Just like,
Yeah.
Mate, we're going to wrap it up.
Cool.
Anything else you want to finish on?
No, I think it's been it's a joy to meet you and to be involved, and I'm very grateful for the privilege. It showed me there's lots of faces to New Zealand, and this has showed me one I don't think I've experienced before.
Brian, thank you for the interview. Good luck with BB and the Bullets.
BB and the Bullets are going to rock. Come and see us.
Yeah, look out for them. You're playing in Bulls soon.
Yeah.
Down the road. I'm going to come back and listen to you guys at the commercial. I love that. Took me right back to my roots, and love that. My son may or may not come. I don't care, but I'll be there. Good luck with the future. Good luck with the band, and welcome back to New Zealand.
Thanks, Harv. Cheers.